Jonathan Salk, I'm CEO of Corfac. Been here with Diane and Jennifer for, is this our 13th year? 12th year? Hard to keep track. Anyway, but it's been great. And thank you guys who are here today. Thank you for your support of Corfac over the years. Couldn't do it without you. Over the last several months, we've added a lot of great new tools and resources, which are available to all of you as long as you have a new profile. Um, and if you haven't created a new profile, you need to do that. Um, Kaylin and Brad are here from Compfolio. One of the new resources we have is a much simpler system than we had in the past to upload deals into the system, thanks to Compfolio. Um, it provides ease of input. It provides ease of search of clients. So I would just encourage you all to take advantage. And Kaylin, I will turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Jonathan. Kaylin, I'll start off if you don't mind.
Yep.
My name is Brad Rohrbaugh. I work very closely with Compfolio. I do a lot of business development for the company. I've been with them for, I guess, probably going on 3 years now. Working closely with Kaylin and his partner Ben to help develop the software and get it to a point where it's very useful for brokers. I am a 30-year commercial real estate agent out of Pennsylvania. Been in the business again for 30 years and do nothing but commercial sale and leasing, primarily retail. But I met up with the Compfolio guys early on in the process and helped develop this. I have it on as our company. So we have close to 32 agents that are operating on it and have been for a few years. And quite honestly, it's been a game changer for our business, just because we have the information that we need at our fingertips. Before this, we all used whatever, several different CRMs, or we had a spreadsheet that we couldn't sort properly, and it just didn't work. So when I was out looking for something that we needed, I stumbled upon Compfolio, and glad I did because it's changed the way I do business. So I'll let Kaylin kind of take over and share his screen, and we can walk through some of the features and functions with Compfolio.
Yeah. Yeah. So Compfolio essentially just a platform to track, map, and share commercial real estate transactions. Um, we tweaked it slightly to develop this deal central for Corfac, that'll help you share your internal closed deals with each other. Um, People paying for the platform can also add comps, just market comps, not necessarily Corfac transactions. Um, how are we different? I'd say like the big thing is we pride ourselves on being very simple to use. It's not going to be another big CRM that you need to learn. Um, Data privacy. So anything you enter in here, we don't sell your transaction data. Anything you enter is yours. And I usually say yours alone, but in this case, it's yours and Corfax. And our pricing. So for Corfac members, one of the versions we're going to show you is completely free if you're a Corfac member. And then there's some additional features that you get if you are a paying member, which just starts at $50 a month. So with that, I'll share my screen and just kind of run you through a demo of the platform. And I think if you have any questions, just feel free to chime in. We'll see how that goes. So for this demo, I actually signed in to First Capital's account in a beta environment. So I'll be messing with some data, but it won't impact anything. Um, so when you first sign in, this is all the Corfac transactions that we currently have in there. You'll see deals that your office has done, deals that other offices have done.
Kaylin, we're seeing a documents screen.
Oh, well. that's not going to help you. Uh, Give me one sec. Let's try. Let's try this one.
And while we wait, I'll monitor the chat. So if anybody has specific questions that you maybe don't want to just announce, you can type them in there and I'll do my best to respond to them.
Can you see what I'm seeing now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is the account. You'll sign in. You'll see deals your office done, deals other offices have done. Um, the first thing we'll touch on is just adding your deals into the platform. So one way is just manually. Um, I know this is kind of the downside of your current platform is that everyone has to enter each deal manually. So I don't foresee a lot of people doing it this way. But if you are just entering them on a weekly basis or even like a monthly basis, if you don't have very many transactions, it is designed to be very simple. So say you can enter sales and leases. Um, this checkbox at the top, it will only show if you are a paying member. So if you're paying for Compfolio, the platform, you will have the option to enter market data and stuff that you don't want to share with Corfac. But as part of Deal Central, like your own deals should be shared with Corfac. Um, Address here is all auto completed. So it makes it pretty seamless to enter data quickly. Everything you see on this form, for the most part, is optional. There are a couple fields for the Deal Central platform that have been made mandatory. Um, and I can just even show you what happens if you try to enter. So the first thing it'll say is that if you're entering a lease, you either need to include the transaction value for that lease, or you need to include the lease start date and the term. Or if you enter lease start and lease expiration, that term will auto calculate, and then the rent, so that the transaction value could be calculated. And then last but not least is the brokerage. For the Corfac deals, one of these brokerages does need to be a Corfac brokerage since it's just the Corfac deals that you guys are all wanting to share with each other. And again, this will auto-complete too, so you don't have, it's not a lot of typing to just enter things manually. Some extra fields that have been set up for Corfac. These are kind of the three main ones that I know you guys were tracking in your old system as well. So the billing agents on the deal, referring office if it was a Corfac referral, and then the agents that referred that deal. If it wasn't a referral, obviously that can all just be left blank. Another thing with our platform is you can add as many attachments as you want to the deal. So if you do want to share, like, if there's market research, you'd attach like an OM or the actual lease agreement. I'm not sure if there's any stuff that Corfac would want to share among offices, but you can attach whatever you want. Down here, you get a street view image of the property. Like you guys are in a nice forested area at the Corfac office. Um, and then if this, sometimes this won't grab a nice image, but you can also upload your own image, or you can drop a Google Street View link in there and it'll capture whatever image you're looking at. Sorry, we'll go like this. So once you enter it manually, it will automatically map. And I'd say like 99% of the time it is correct. The occasional time, if it's maybe like a new development area, it'll get it close, but not on where you're talking about. So you can also zoom in and move the map marker. So say it wasn't actually on this building, it should have been on this building. You can do that. So again, very easy to manually enter comps. But as I understand it, most of the offices, they do want to just do a bulk import. So if you go on the left side here, this imports tab, and you click import new comps, choose a file. So we have a standard like import template that we've shared with Corefac. And there's also a link to it in the user guide, which should also be on the Corefac platform. So first I'll import using this template. So maybe I'll just open up this file first so you can see what it looks like. Can you see that Excel file? Is it overlaying correctly? Okay. So this is the template we came up with. These fields marked as required, you do need to enter. Most of it is like so that it can be plotted on the map correctly, or some of the fields that are required for the Deal Central platform, like the landlord brokerage, tenant brokerage. Uh, Same as like when we entered comps manually, a lot of it is just optional data, but obviously the more the better. Um, Same as when we were manually entering anything that can be auto-completed will be auto-completed. It's like we have a column for like net rent per square foot per year, per square foot per month, per acre per year, per acre per month, annual rent. You really just need to enter one of those columns and the rest will auto-calculate. Like I know people on the West Coast often use per square foot per month. People on everywhere else use per square foot per year. And then some of the fields are just kind of like for industrial properties. Some are only for retail properties. Um, so that's the template that you're given, and you can fill out as much as you need. There's also a template for sales, obviously like quite a bit less data for a sale than a lease. Um, you can combine the files, but we find it's just easier. Keep your leases in one file, keep your sales in a different file. So that's what that file looks like. You'll see when we go to import it now. It picks up all the column names in that file. If you scroll, so latitude and longitude, if you don't include something, it'll automatically map it based on Google Maps. If you do know that long, you can include that and it'll override whatever Google Maps is going to do. If a column doesn't get uh, recognized, I set it up so that this one intentionally didn't, but if a column doesn't get recognized, you can just map it yourself. So it's a lot easier if you just use the template that we've provided, but if you are storing your comps in a different or your internal deals in a different spreadsheet, it's possible that it is still compatible and it's just a matter of choosing that file and selecting the columns correctly. Everything else should work. Um, so if we scroll, the last thing I'll just point out is like this last field here is another column that we had in our spreadsheet that wasn't mapped. It'll say you forgot to select what that column was. You just want to ignore that column. Yes, we do. And then the next thing you'll get, because we have our sales and leases in different files, if you had them in the same file, you could include an extra column saying whether or not this is a sale, whether or not it's a lease. Since we're using separate files, we know that everything in here is a lease. And then if you are using like the freemium version for Corefac, you won't even get this prompt, but it's just, do you want to share these deals with Corefac or do you want to keep them private on your own account? We want to share these with Corefac. And then next you'll get, if there's any of your rows that you entered that had issues, you'll get a warning telling you what the issue is. So for example, on this row, it just says lease comps shared with your network must have First Capital Property Group as either the landlord brokerage or the tenant brokerage. So this was like an external deal, not fact related. Maybe it just accidentally got put in our file. Um, that's fine. You can still import, and then any of those rows will just be ignored. And even if this file is like 500 rows, it usually all imports in like less than 15 seconds. So when we come out to the map, um, we can see that these comps have all been imported. And one other thing I'll quickly show is if you even just want to keep like a running tally of your closed deals, um, if we go to import that same file, we get that same warning. And then you'll see that it detects that 6 of these rows have already been imported. And do you want to skip them? So basically, if you're keeping even just like a year-to-date spreadsheet together of your closed deals, you can just keep re-uploading that same spreadsheet at the end of every week or the end of every month, and it'll detect which ones are actually new deals. It won't create duplicates. Um, and that duplicate detection is just kind of based on the address, when the lease started, and what that uh, tenant name is. So then the next import that I'll show is, I know like uh, quite a few of the offices are using build out. And one of the reports that you can generate in build out is the closed deals report. I just open up this file. So there were some uh, instructions in that user guide on how to um, export from build out. Um, so you only want to export your closed deals. This is what that export will look like. You don't need to change anything in here though. And then when you upload that file, it'll automatically kind of massage the data to match what Compfolio is expecting to import. So again, you don't need to do anything. It's just drag and drop and hit import. And you'll see this one has some warnings. So this deal just didn't include the transaction value or the lease term and rent. So it's just going to be skipped because there's not enough information to make it useful. And because I've uploaded a version of this file before, it'll, like I was saying, it will detect that some of these are duplicates that are already in there. And then if you hit yes, it'll import the rest. This menu on the left, it just lets you sort this list. So like we're just going to sort by newest to oldest to see some of the deals that have been entered. So you'll see this one was imported today, a minute ago. And this was everything that was from that build export. So that's getting your deals into the system. Um, are there any questions on that part before moving on to like some of the reports and analysis and stuff you can do in the platform? All right, moving on. Um, I guess like the one thing I did want to say off the start too, I know like just looking at the itinerary for the fall conference, I know like I think one of the sessions is like how to compete with the national brokerages. Um, so I just want to throw out there that like, so we've actually demoed this to a couple of like the big offices here in the city, and they both have a platform similar to this to share all the deals that like the CBRE and the Colliers have done. Um, they admit that this platform is better to use, easier to use, but that there's no way they can convince their corporate office to change all of Colliers to this. So you are getting like better tools than some of them are using. Um, okay, so once you sign in, that's we got all our deals in here. Now let's like actually see what we do with them. Um, some filters that you'll likely be using. So the first one, Corfac Office. So say you are coming in here and you do just want to look at your own deals that you've entered into the system. This will probably be a filter that you often do, and you just come in and you can just filter to only see the deals that your office has entered. So we'll see everything that was entered here. I guess just point this one out right now. You'll get some color coding based on the expiration date of the leases. So anything that's within 6 months of expiring will show up red, 12 months will show up orange, and then 18 months out will show up this yellow color. You can filter further. So um, maybe you are trying to find a lease that was between 15,000 to 5,000 square foot industrial lease. So maybe you want to see what 5,000 to 15,000 industrial in Orlando has been doing. Um, again, we're just filtered down to what my office has entered into the platform. Um, again, if you're a paying member, you'd be entering like market research, stuff like that. Um, for this one, it's just the FCPG deals that we're looking at. So if we clear that filter, maybe like another example would be you are doing a deal with Prologis in your local market, and you're wondering if any other Corfac offices have done a deal with Prologis. So two ways to do some searching in here. Anything you type in this search box here will automatically filter the map down. So this will search tenant name, landlord name, anything in the comments, street addresses. So it's really just kind of like a free form search. If we're looking to get more granular, this is where you do that. So one of the filters we have here is tenants. So we can filter to Prologis deals, and we see that the Clavin Company, if I pronounce that right, has done a deal with Prologis. So maybe you want to get in touch with, oh, it didn't put a, oh yeah, billing agents. So maybe you want to get in touch with David, Todd, or Frank and ask them what they made for a commission on their Prologis deal. Or you can see that King Industrial also did a Prologis deal. Maybe you want to get in touch with Edward to ask him any terms of that deal. Um, okay, this should be one thing I point out as well. So when you are importing your deals, either through it usually happens through the spreadsheet. Um, if you're importing a deal and it gets thrown out in the ocean like this, it basically means that Google couldn't find like a position for it. So like if you look at some of these Zero Heritage Ranch, Zero Highway 395 and Highway 88, it's just places that Google couldn't map. So your only option is to really, you can either first off just find the correct address for it, or like I was showing earlier, you can come in and move that mask marker wherever it needs to go. Then one other thing, you'll notice when I opened up that comp. So um, deals that you're looking at that a different office uploaded, you'll see that it's all read only. So you can't go in here and mess with other people's data. You'll only be able to view their data. And then if you open up a deal that you've entered, your office has entered, um, it'll all be editable. So if you import it, notice something's wrong, you can just quickly change it in here or change it in your file, re-upload. Next stuff that we provide is creating basic reports. So say I am working on a deal in Orlando and maybe it's industrial leases. Maybe I want everything expiring in the next, or all the deals that have been done in like the last 2 years, say, or the last 1 year, since that's as far back as this data goes on here. Let's see, what's a good area for a report? Yeah, so maybe we want to see what's going on in this building here. Um, so creating a report, you can either select comps one off, or you can just select everything that is currently shown on the map. So say we select everything, but there's some that we know are irrelevant for a report, deselect those. Um, then you can click the context menu here on one of the comps, or under more actions here, you can create a new report. Either takes you to the same screen. Confidential fields. So if there's some stuff in your comps that you don't want to share with the client, you can mark those as confidential. So maybe you don't want them to see any comments that you added, or you don't want them to see who the landlord is. You can hide that from the report. This share with, you can enter their email addresses there. Um, they'll automatically get a report from Compfolio with a link in it that'll lead them to an online version of the map where they can download the PDF, download it as Excel, view it on this interactive map. Um, what most people end up doing is generating this shareable link, and then they'll just share that link in their own email. or they'll just create their own PDF and share the PDF, which I'll show in a second here. So if you share that link with a client, they basically see the same interactive map that we were looking at. So they can open up the comps. Everything is just read only, so they can't mess with any of your data. Um, they can go satellite view, they can jump into street view. I didn't pick a great one to open up there, but you get the gist. Um, so that's if you share the link with them directly. Or if you go to this reports tab, you can see the reports that we've created. I'll just open up this one. So you can open up your report and then download it as a PDF. And there's a few different versions of the PDF. So one is a full version, shows basically all the transaction details. There's a compact version that kind of tries and squeeze as much information on one page as possible. And then we have a summary that's just basically like a one pager. So this is what that full report would look like. This like company logo up here. Um, Basically, you just need to submit a request to us to get this all set up for you. Um, right now, it would just be blank at the top, but if you send our support team an email just saying that you'd like your reports to be branded, we can get that set up for you. You get a little summary at the top of the deals, a map showing where everything's laid out. And then, like as I was saying, this is just a beta environment that we're using for the demo. So that's why you'll notice some of the images aren't loading. But in production, all the images are there. Everything does work. The summary version is basically just like that one pager right there. And then the compact one is where you try and fit as much on each page. So those are the reports. I know, Diane, you really wanted me to touch on the team functionality. So when you're getting your account set up, um, either Diane, Jennifer, or the first person that's been added to your team will have access to this. So this is a drop down. Just make sure your office is selected from the drop down. And then at the bottom here is add team members. So once an admin has been added to the team, you can invite anybody else from your office to your team. We provide a few different roles. So there's basic, which is the person can come in, they can look at the comps, they can create reports, but they can't edit or change any of the data. Contributor can come in, they can contribute new deals, they can edit comps, delete comps, do importing, and then all the stuff that a basic person can do. And then admin is kind of like all of that. Plus, they have the ability to add new team members to the team. And they also have the ability to back up all the deals that have been entered into their team's account. So when you enter someone's email address here, they'll just get an email from Compfolio saying Jennifer has invited you to the SCBG team. In that email is just a link with a big button that says join team. You'll click that and it'll just open up Compfolio. It'll have your email address pre-populated and you just need to set up a password. The only caveat is that sometimes that email finds its way into your spam folder instead of your inbox. So if you're having issues or you're not getting that email, it's like almost always just need to check your spam. So that's a high level overview of what things look like for Corfac. And if you're paying for Compfolio, now the next thing I'm just going to show is how things will change slightly for you if you are just using the 100% free version. So again, this is just demo environment. I'll switch to Bluestone, who we have set up in here as being a free member. So the first thing you'll notice is some of the data we do restrict. So for example, you won't be able to see what the actual rent on a lease was. Or if we're looking at sales, you won't be able to see what the actual sale price on that sale was. Um, Apart from that, so for the lease expiration, you also won't be able to see, but you'll be able to see everything else. Um, that is just kind of our way of enticing people to pay for the pay for the real version. But if you are like going to that past example where you're just trying to find, if any other Corfac offices have done a deal with Prologis, all of that type of stuff you can still do without knowing what the rent is or when the lease expires. Um, Same with creating reports. You can still create reports. You can still import your data. Uh, this checkbox at the top here, as I said, if you're paying for the free version, everything you enter does need to be shared with Corfac. So it'll only be your own deals that you're entering. You won't be able to enter like any market research that you're doing that other uh, brokerages have done. And then so you can still add comps manually. You can still import using that template that we showed using the build out export. You can still import that way. When you come to this comps page, you will be able to see the full details of everything that you've imported for up to 48 hours, just to make sure that like you can come in here and make sure that the rents were actually imported correctly, the lease expiration is actually correct. Um, and then after 48 hours, you kind of start getting this X here where you can't actually see what the rent was in the platform. But that's really the only restrictions that we've put in place. Brad, do you think I have missed anything big worth mentioning?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. Yeah, I think you covered everything.
Okay, good. Any questions from Corfac people? I will say if you email support@compfolio.com, we're very quick to, you know, provide you with any help you need, or like if you can't get your file to import correctly or you're having trouble getting the columns to match up, our support team can definitely help you with that.
Well,
And
thank you,
just to,
Caitlin. Thank you, Brad. Jonathan, did you have final comments?
no, I just wanted to say, and for all, I know we lost a few people on the call, but for all that are still here, this is free for you guys. Okay. Corfac has taken on the expense of this as a member benefit and a value add for all of our firms. So, the simplicity of uploading this information is so much better now than it was before. So I know this is something that's going to take everybody some time. We will continue to bother and hammer you about doing it. from staff and at the conference in Chicago in a few weeks. And I know Kaylin and Brad will do something similar, and it'll take time, but man, we are excited at the potential here and what kind of database we could have with all this information. That's all I got. Unless there's any other questions, thank you, Kaylin and Brad, for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the partnership. All right. See you guys in Chicago.